All right, so welcome back, everybody. Permission to live. We are here. How are you, BJ?
I'm doing great, Shante.
Wonderful. I am as well. I am as well. Good weekend
Oh
so
man,
far.
great weekend. I had great Father's Day. I had it was
Yes.
wonderful, and I'm proud to be a father, and I thank God for allowing me to mentor my son, my niece, who's 16 years old, about to have a baby. So
Wow.
yeah, so I'm a daddy and a granddaddy.
There you go. Yep. Yep.
Yeah, so so that's good. That's a good thing. I'm looking forward to that challenge.
That's good.
Yeah,
I was telling my daughter and my son, I was like, not yet, but I'm actually ready. I'm ready to be
you
the
ready to be a
grandma.
granny?
It's crazy,
What?
right? I told them though, my daughter's 23, and I was like, nah, give it about 4, 5,
Right,
10 more years. I'm just saying I'm ready
right.
because I miss that
That
mommy, that
right.
baby mommy, because yep, that 23 and 17. I love
Okay,
them.
okay,
I
okay.
love them.
Yeah.
But I do miss that baby stage. So
Wow. Well, okay. Well, when it's going to come sooner than later.
give it time though. Give it
Right.
time. Yes.
So, what's today's topic? What you got on your mind?
So right, I was literally, and this came from a brainstorming session I had with my daughter on yesterday, and she was talking about struggle, but from the context of generational differences
Mm,
in the way that we think.
yes.
So, anytime it's crazy. I think the mommies out there and the daddies, but the mommies can understand when your kids say, "We need to talk. I want to talk."
Mm-hmm.
It was like, "Oh God!" So she was like, "Ma, I need to talk."
Right.
I knew it was. I knew it was like, all right, all right. I got to put my mommy hat on. So she was discussing her want to go to graduate school,
Mm-hmm.
and she will, and then her want to also expand on some business ideas that
Mm-hmm.
she had, right? So we were talking, brainstorming, pros, cons, all of that good stuff, and then she mentioned her experience with undergrad. Of course, she's a Howard alum, and during that time, she was like, "Ma, you struggled a lot
Yeah.
with taking me through school,
Right.
and I don't want to go to graduate school like that." So we started the conversation, and we ended with her saying, I don't want to go to graduate school and have you struggle or me struggle to try to figure it out. And I don't want that struggle for my kids. And it was from the context of, although I appreciate y'all's generation, but y'all's generation was okay with the struggle because
Mm-hmm.
that's all that y'all knew.
Yeah.
And she said, I don't want that for me and my children.
So that's Gen Z, right? She's Gen Z.
Yes,
Okay.
Gen Z.
Yeah, they got
Yeah.
a whole different approach to money and stuff. It's like,
Yeah.
and I'm gonna tell you, I was talking to somebody the other day. I said I've seen on social media the young people are expecting to make six figures. Like that's like
Yes.
I can't do no lower than six figures.
Yep.
I'm not making any money unless I'm making six figures.
Yep.
And in our generation coming up, we were like that was like a ultimate goal.
Yep.
But this is like an everyday. I got to have this in order to function.
For sure.
Generation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think, and I mean, and you can look at it from a lot of different perspectives, but I can appreciate Gen Z's understanding of their worth,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
Without necessarily saying, I need experience as well.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like she literally just graduated. I think it was not this year, last year. Double major. She got two degrees, and although she is very experienced in community work, she's like, I'm not going for no entry level nothing.
Mm-hmm.
She's like, I know my worth. The experience comes with the sharing of ideas of the other generation. So our generation connected to their generation is a powerful, dynamic force.
Yeah.
Because we have wisdom
Yeah.
and they have the new way of thinking, the culture shift that has happened since COVID,
Yeah.
and the energy to push forth vision.
Yeah, so this is the generation I've heard, the generation of fulfillment.
Listen.
Okay, so this is the greatest generation that we've ever produced because they're fearless, courageous, and like you said, they ask for what they want and they expect it, right? And they're
Yeah.
not taking those shorts,
Yep.
and they're not interested in being unequal when you got everything and we don't have nothing,
Yeah.
they're like, nah,
They're not trying.
we ain't doing that.
They're not trying it.
Yeah.
I was.
They need, like you said, they need guidance, right? Because like you said,
Absolutely,
they need guidance.
it's that connection. You have to be able to connect.
Yeah.
You know how they see things, we don't. How we see things is a little bit different. You know, and if you're mothering, like I, this is sidebar, side note. Make sure I catch back up, BJ.
Okay.
But I was looking at some colleagues and social media, and I was like, I really don't have a whole lot of social media presence like that. I was like, what was I doing? I'm like, I was mothering. I had no time for that. I put all of my energy into my kids.
Right.
So when you talk about fulfillment and they're not really expecting anything less, I was talking to a colleague and I was telling her that fulfillment doesn't come with having multiple gigs and multiple jobs. And that's the way we think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's like we got 2, 3, 4, and we feel like we're doing something, we're moving.
Right.
You know, and fulfillment really doesn't come with the multiple jobs and the multiple gigs, you know. Fulfillment really comes with intentionality about what you're doing, you know, versus just doing.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I think that we feel like, or we have felt like, and many probably still feel like, we got something to prove.
Right. And you know, you do have something to prove, but to yourself though. It's like you got something to prove to yourself. I was watching this guy, discovered this guy named Andy Elliott. He's like a car salesman guru. And he said a statement, I wrote this down last weekend, and he said he was broke and he wanted to make a change. And he said to himself, from this day forward, I'm never going to tolerate ever again what I've been tolerating in my life. Yes. He just cold turkey cut it off and made a decision to make a change in the way he was thinking. Yeah. And so I took that as a mantra, and I said, everything that doesn't benefit me, I grapple with laziness in my life. Are you lazy, BJ? It's a demeaning word, but if it applies to some of your activity where it's a struggle for you to reach over the other side of the bed to get your phone, and it's like, you know, you lazy. Yeah. Just do the opposite of what you haven't been doing. Challenge yourself. Yeah. You don't go, somebody invited you to go somewhere, you're like, man, I go next Tuesday. No, get up and go. And challenge yourself in the opposite of the way you've been thinking. That's the only way you're going to change. You could do it overnight. For sure. You know?
For sure.
I think is that on the topic?
You know, we all on the topic because it's all about struggle. What you're talking
that's
about
a struggle.
right now is mental struggle.
Yeah, mental.
You know, or just the struggle to understand what's next. And I'm gonna challenge you a little bit on that.
Okay.
Because I think we equate laziness to unhealthy or unrecognized symptoms of like depression.
Okay.
Or unrecognized symptoms of anxiety looks different for people. Frustration, anger, all of that looks different for people. And I feel like COVID was the worst thing and also the most enlightening thing because we realized so much about what we were missing when we had no choice but to sit and think.
Right.
You know, so I would say, because I know you, and we've been kicking it for a minute.
Right.
Ain't nobody can ever tell me, and from my understanding of what I do know, that you're lazy because you're one of the most hustling men I know.
Right.
But I think sometimes because we move so much and nothing happens on our time, we feel like, what's the point? Is it really? And then that equates to a lethargic kind of movement. Man, I'm tired. That moment of maybe I'm feeling defeated, although we're not. Yeah. So
what you challenged me on is organization. Right. And I accept, I said, you know what, you're right. And, you know, said, the challenge to become organized, supremely organized, takes a lot of effort if you hadn't been doing it, right?
Yeah.
Like keeping a calendar,
Yeah.
just being unorganized. So you saw when we were coming into the studio today, I was here.
Yeah.
I had everything set up because I know
remember.
Shante be like, BJ, is everything okay? Is it going to work? I'm like, yes, Shante. So you've helped me forward think and to make sure you got your stuff together, because I'm not only representing myself, I'm representing you. And we want to do it in the best manner, right?
Yeah.
And take pride in what we're doing.
For sure.
So
For sure.
so that's a part of myself that, being associated with you has, I'm demanding more organization from myself. And it just takes a little bit more time. And you know what? Scrolling through, when I know I should be doing something, I challenge myself. I'm looking at Country Wayne. We don't know if you watch Country Wayne on YouTube, right? I enjoy watching the episodes they come out with. And then I said to myself, okay, brother BJ, you got a lot of stuff to do. Is what you're doing right now going to help you tomorrow with all the stuff you got to get done? But I take time out to relax my mind, to have a little enjoyment.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
try to balance it.
Yeah, and one of the things that I know that you have done is recognized and you accepted the fact that I need to be more organized.
Yeah.
A lot of folks don't accept what they need. They don't want to hear
Yeah.
from others what others can recognize in them. And then I'm not sure when the epiphany happened for you, but it's like there's a sometimes we deal with mental fogs. And I really push, and I want folks to understand that it's going to be hard if you are not in a mental space to think.
Right.
Mental freedom is money.
Wow.
When you can be your creative self, you can think clearly to hear, the voice. And for me, it's the voice of God. When you can hear what your next step should be.
Yeah.
But when you are flooded with distractions and you cannot think freely, then you're wasting time, which is therefore wasting money.
How do you do that though? Do you get quiet? You have quiet time because you meditate and you write.
Yeah. Well, and it didn't start that way. It started with recognizing the distractions and having the courage and being brave enough to start to tackle deleting these distractions out of my life.
Okay.
Right? So it's distractions. Where are they? Assessing where you are. Sometimes you can be a distraction, to yourself.
Right.
Recognizing that you need to take some time and carve out time to get things done. But even getting things done, like for me, like I said, I've been mothering hard and working hard. But I had to say, all right, boundaries. Where are these boundaries for me? This is the first, I ain't gonna lie, this is probably the first tournament and that my son has gone to where I didn't show up at least 1 or 2 days out of town. I had a hard time with that. But I had to say he's 7. He'll be 18. My baby be 18 in a couple weeks. Jesus.
Wow.
But it's like he has to learn how to do this without mommy. And mommy have to be okay with saying it's time because I did my part and I did my job.
That's right.
And I'm going to keep doing it. But it's like, man, allowing yourself to kind of figure things out and assess where you are.
Yeah.
But for me, it started with distractions.
You know what I did recently when I'm home, because everybody's been gone. My son, I think I told you, he's driving trucks now.
Yeah.
So he's on the road. My wife's been out of town for a couple of weeks now. I've been by myself. So I like being by myself, so I get a chance to think and rediscover what's important to me. And I just laid across the bed and looked up at the ceiling, and I just got quiet. And then all this clarity started coming to me. Because it was quiet.
Yeah.
And I was saying, let me just think. And that's why meditation is so important, right?
Yes.
And I have been missing that. I said, wow, I'm really figuring out some sequences that makes sense. I said, I be talking to myself. I said, yeah, okay, that makes sense.
Yes,
You know.
yes. The one of the shifts. There's many shifts in my life, but one of the shifts came in the deepest meditative state
Mm.
that I have ever experienced. It was just my time with God.
Wow.
And I was sitting by myself, and I had my little fireplace on, and I sat quiet and allowed silence and space to happen.
Wow.
Sometimes you don't like silence because you're stuck with your own thoughts. But baby, you got to get into your own thoughts
Teach.
in order to get to where you need to go. You got to fight with your own thoughts.
Yes, yes.
So I was sitting and fighting with my own thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
And in my fighting with my thoughts, at the same time saying, all right, God, what do I do with that?
Yeah.
What do I do with this?
Mm-hmm.
It was the most memorable moments of my life.
Mm-hmm.
I think I did a quote on my Instagram page on that day. You know what? I'm going to find it.
Yeah, please, please.
I'm going to find it. And it was because of the moment that I had with God. I know that I'm going to, here it is. When you don't want to leave his presence, feeling love without a physical touch, love without a single word. All you need is his presence, and that's love. And
Beautiful.
I put the power of God's presence is the untouchable place.
Wow.
And that is a place that is untouchable.
That's your original thought?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Sound like a scripture out of the Bible.
Yeah, you know, I was telling you that you're so funny. I ain't that good. But when I was telling you, I'm working on a couple of books, and my first one was on relationships, but I think I'm going to switch, and I started working on a book of poetry and poems and things, because I love words, and I'm becoming my creative self, not even realizing that was me, you know? But everyone has to have an untouchable place where no one could and should be able to enter.
Yes.
And that is where you connect to your meditative place.
Right. So you got in contact with the Holy Spirit. You know, the sweet Holy Spirit, and you opened yourself up, invited it in to, you know, give you those messages, because only the Holy Spirit could have allowed you to put it the way you put it, you know, the way you wrote it, you know what I'm saying? And so getting into that deep meditative space of prayer, and just constantly staying in contact with our Creator who knows our thoughts. He knows everything about us.
Absolutely.
So I say, you know, when I'm praying, I say, God, you know what my mind is suggesting to me right now. Help me, because you created me. You know what I'm up against. And, you know, I like the word surrender. It's such a beautiful word, and how we have to live our life. We have to surrender to the Creator of the heavens and the earth, and he will map out. Well, he already got a map for us, but we accept what he has for us. And it ain't nothing. He ain't gonna lead you wrong.
That's right.
If there's one entity in this universe not gonna leave you wrong, is the one that created you in the womb of your mother.
Yes.
With you from the beginning of your existence. And, you know, gratitude is so important, you know, because I just thank God for preserving my life when I think about all my family members, and I'm the last one. I remember eating breakfast with my mother, my brother, and my mother, and I'm the last one. So I'm grateful.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm telling you, I mean, if I had a penny in my pocket, I'm like, at least I got a life.
There you go.
Yeah.
You know, and you hit on something with gratitude, and if we look at gratitude, I wonder how many of us have the outcome of gratitude through life struggles. Because you learn from struggle,
Right.
if you want
Yeah,
to.
yeah.
You know, if you want to learn, or if you have a wisdom that exceeds what others may have, you know, I usually look at those individuals and say they probably have experienced some significant struggle in their life.
Yeah.
But what do you, and I guess that's the question, you know, when it comes down to the idea of struggle, do people, and why do people stay in struggle? Is it because they want to stay there? Is it because struggle is all that they know? Or is it because they don't have the tools, the mental tools, the resilience,
Yes.
or
That's what-
understanding that they are resilient? Because I tell you this, anyone who survives significant struggle and being prosperous does not always equate to money.
Right.
You know, so when people understand and could really understand their struggle, if they knew the power of resiliency that they had and was able to actually label it as resilient and use that as energy to push to say, I am resilient
Yes.
beyond measure. Listen, you know, sometimes that's all you need to motivate yourself is understanding how powerful you are.
And that could be simply getting a piece of paper and you should write down all the things that you have overcome in your life. And you probably fill up 50 pages.
Yeah.
And then you look at it like, wow, I forgot all about, I did that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And we got to know who we are. We got to get back in contact with who we truly are, not who somebody else has created us to be. And you were talking about proving ourselves to other people.
Yeah.
And we have to get out of, I don't let the judgment of other people affect me anymore. It took me a long time to get there. I do not let the judgment of other people affect how I feel. I can hear it come in one ear and go right out the other.
Yeah.
And I forgot what they said. And they could have said something like insulting, but it can't penetrate me because I've learned how to become my own best friend.
I love that.
I've learned how to do it. So I'm serious. Like, it's very difficult to offend me now because I'm so rooted in who I know I am.
Yeah.
That I started that process about 2 years ago. Yeah. So.
And it is a process.
Yeah, it's a process.
How did you get to that place?
I spent so much time by myself writing. I got notes. Writing. I get my phone and I'm riding around town and talking to myself in my recorder. Then I listen to myself back. Oh, I have my earphones on. I listen to me talk to me about who I am. And so nobody else, no other voice is in my head but mine.
That's right.
And
Yeah.
so one day I was walking into a building and this brother saw me. He said, "Man, you look like you get ready to kill somebody." I said, "I think that was probably one of the tapes I was one of my powerful tapes that it was reflected on my face the seriousness of what I was telling myself." You know what I'm saying? So that's helped me. And I tell people all the time, man, if you don't get a piece of paper, have you ever listened to The Strangest Secret by Earl Nightingale? Everybody should listen to it. It's a 1950s, one of the first motivational audio recordings.
Okay.
And he talked about you become what you think about the most.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
And it's true.
It's like a 20-minute segment, and I listened to it, and it is true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. When you think about or talk about like proving things to yourself and the expectation of others and how others see you, I think that many people, and I found myself at some point, even professionally, with contemplating shifting what you know you should do because you are trying to meet the expectations of other people.
Wow.
And you have to be so comfortable within yourself to not shift because your purpose could be missed because of that shift.
Yeah.
So don't allow other people's expectation of you change what God has already given you.
Come on, teach.
And that could be hard
Yes.
because socially, you know, and I don't, people like, you know, you don't have no link. I'm not on link. I don't want people to, don't look, okay? Because the pressure of people wanting you to do, right, or expecting something of you.
Yeah.
And everyone has their own insecurities.
Yeah.
If you do not stay close to God and stay close to the true, to you as a person, the true you as a person, folks, society will have you shifting and moving in the wind every day, and you lose yourself. So I said that to say, yeah, man, it's like, don't allow other people to shift your purpose.
Yeah. And there's a moment of isolation, because when you do make that change, what they have always expected of you changes the dynamics of your relationship. So if you had I call it the Batman Robin relationship, where they always Batman and I'm Robin, I'm the sidekick.
Yeah.
You know, or in your mind, I'm the sidekick. And so when I say to myself, well, I don't want to deal with that dynamic. It's that go along to get along, pleasing
Right.
personality. Everybody is more important than you are.
Yeah.
Attitude, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I in the book, The Magic of Thinking Big, I took that out of, I listened to the audio a couple of weeks ago, and he says, everybody is important, but they're not more important than you are. I said, that's it right there. And so I had been treating myself like that. Everybody was more important than me. And then when I start making myself important, the people that think that you should be subordinate to them, they scatter.
Right. Yeah,
You know what I'm
that's
saying?
right.
And so it's good, because they're not really your friend.
That's right.
Because anybody is your friend, they want to see you powerful, confident, engaging, successful. And these people are not your friend.
Yeah.
We tolerate this in our life, but we could stop it at any moment.
Yeah.
You just got to decide if being your friend means that I have to compromise principles of truth. If you're asking me to do that, then your friendship may not be that consequential, because you don't want what the truth is.
That's right.
And you know, I'm 58 years old, and I tell people all the time, brother, it took me up into my 50s to learn how to respect myself like this.
Wow. And it's true. And I think people with the biggest hearts, right? You have a big heart.
Praise God.
You have a big heart. And sometimes folks with the biggest hearts learn through the hardest times, because we oftentimes give so much of ourselves, we put ourselves last.
Yeah.
We give to others so much that, you know, we put ourselves last, or in a very authentic way.
Yeah.
You know? So I can definitely see that, man, because your heart is so big.
Praise
But
God.
this is good stuff.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
This is good stuff.
You know, I just like to see your friend, that me and you've been dealing a long time, and I've always known the potential that you have, right? And it's just a matter of lining things up.
Yeah.
And then, you know, sometimes you may not believe that somebody had your best interest at heart. Sometimes it's difficult as for us, you know, to my black people, you know what I'm saying? Because it's always a hidden agenda somewhere.
Isn't that sad?
It is.
And it was so refreshing. I was, you know, I connect and supervise therapists and provide, you know, state supervision. But I was talking to someone, and last episode we talked about intentional care. So I think in order for you to be able to do your job well, you need to be intentional about caring for yourself, and anyone who's connected to you. You need to be intentional about making sure that you're caring for others that you care about, and you need to be authentic in asking them, how are you doing? You know, like really, honestly, not just how you doing?
Yeah,
Don't do that. I don't want that. You can keep that.
Yeah, yes.
You know what I mean? So, and I challenged her thinking, and then I stopped myself and I said, I want to make sure that I'm not pushing my thoughts on you.
Mm-hmm.
And she said, that's the problem. She said, we don't hold each other as Black women accountable. And I'm glad that you're holding me accountable.
Very good.
And that was so refreshing. And she, she's younger than I. So it's like a generational thing. But she was like, no, tell me what I need. Like, I need to know this. I need somebody to tell me this. So hold me accountable. Hold me to the fire. I don't mind that.
Right.
So I think with what you're saying as it relates to trust and trusting one another and understanding that people have your best interests, you see it in their authentic self. And I think that's why we've stayed connected, for so long. And that's also something that you have to ask God to give you discernment about.
Now, I'm telling you that word right there. Go into that. Go help me and help others, because I've made mistakes in discerning things, because you want so bad for something to work out and you ignore signs, but you know it now. The red flag came up, but you ignored it. You kept going, and you got exactly what you thought you were going to get. Yeah. And you didn't. The discernment is not crystal clear, and you're not making definitive decisions.
Yeah. Yeah, I think because the want of the physical, the want of the flesh is real, and sometimes that is the biggest distraction with being able to have discernment, is because we don't hear, we feel. I want that. I'm connected to you. What you're telling me, I'm leaning into it. I'm believing it. Even though I see the red flags, I feel good about it. The flesh is wanting this, so I'm gonna go ahead and keep rocking and not really hear that voice, that still voice saying, "Don't do it.
Don't do that. Yeah.
Don't do it." And we all do it. We all find ourselves in that situation. But I tell you what, for me, and this is just for me, what I could share. The closer you are to God, the easier it is to discern.
Yes.
Because discernment is not something that we could do
right
in the flesh. It's something that you do in the spirit.
Right. There you go.
So it's that's how in those moments, and again, we all fail at times. A lot of hurt, a lot of pain,
a lot of lessons.
Lessons learned. But that connection to your spirit and the Spirit of God is so important.
Yeah.
In order to listen, but that takes discipline.
Yeah.
And discipline doesn't mean you're not going to fall. Right. Faithfulness to God doesn't mean you're not going to fall or be perfect. And I think that's where a lot of people, try to. They sometimes.
Or I'm not going to deal with certain misfortunes or things that come in my life again, because I feel like I've gotten closer to God. But I mean, life is full of tests.
That's it.
To get closer to Him.
Yeah.
He wants to draw you closer to Him. So our faith in Him, that we know whatever comes up, that we have the ability to overcome it through His assistance.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
And understand that He is the true judge of the heart.
Come on now.
Of the heart.
Yes.
And if your heart is not right, if your intentions are not right, even if you make mistakes and your intentionality towards it wasn't to harm, right? That's what God is judging, the heart.
Yeah.
So I look at people not with what, and I've learned this too, not with what they say, baby, it's what they do.
Come on now.
It's like what I see.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And consistency with that.
And then never disregard how you feel when you with a person, right? How do they make you feel? And when you leave that person, does the spirit linger on of, I had a good experience with Shante today. I had a good experience with Brother BJ. He is lifting me up. He's not tearing me down, and he's pouring into me, right? And so, how can you know that you've been in the presence of the divine? Because all of I want to talk about that one day on our show.
Okay.
It's like the divinity. If we would see the divine or the divinity in one another, we would get along so wonderful because we all come from the same source. And the way we got here is so miraculous that when I look at you, I'm like, wow, you got here by the same means that I got here. And you are the glory of God. And we see each other, we should be like, smile at each other like, wow, who is that person that beat the odds of 1,000,000,000 to 1 to actually be a human being?
Yeah.
And so we always look for the divine within ourselves and with other people.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
And the reality is a lot of people don't connect because the other person is just, their spirit is just not right.
yeah.
So it's like, if we can see it in one another, but what if you can't see it in the other person?
So as a clinical psychologist, your job is...
I'm a licensed clinical social worker. Yeah,
I'm sorry.
not a psychologist, but it's all good. I want to make sure professionally that I'm being accurate. Yep.
So your job, when you have a client, what's your number one thing that you're thinking about?
Them.
Okay.
Because in shows like this and podcasts, it's all my thoughts, my feelings, but professionally, clients come first. And what their needs are, I'm just helping guide them, through what the first thing is, how is it that I can help them meet their own individual goals? So you take yourself out of it in that perspective. Is that what you was asking?
Yeah. I was saying, like, your intent with you meet with somebody and you see them at a low tone scale, clinically depressed or whatever, they have no hope.
Yeah, you listen.
Yeah.
You listen. You intentionally listen. You listen for what they're saying, and you listen for what they're not saying. Right?
Wow.
And you assist in trying to get them to see some things that they may not have seen from a different perspective. But it's really up to them to make those choices for themselves. It's up to you to make that choice for you.
Right. So what I realized in my journey over the last couple of years of untangling trauma.
Sure.
And there's different levels of trauma.
Absolutely.
It's not somebody that was robbed or rape or something like that, which is very traumatic. But I know we're going to close out in a minute, but could you talk about things that people don't consider trauma that is trauma?
Perception is reality. And what is trauma for me may not be for you. Trauma could be a major adjustment in your life. Trauma is loss. Trauma is separation. Trauma is physical harm, psychological harm, emotional harm. There's so much to trauma. When I do trauma trainings, and I go back to the trauma that even a child could have in the womb from a mother.
Wow.
In utero, right?
Wow.
And explain to the best of my ability to those other clinicians and mental health professionals that you cannot disregard the first years of a person's life and the way in which their brain functions to where they are in the present day.
Man, that's deep.
You know?
Wow.
So that's how significant it is to understand trauma in your own life and in the lives of others. You know, one of the chapters in my book on relationships is, did you have the conversation of trauma with your spouse, well, your soon-to-be spouse or your spouse? You need to understand what they have experienced, you know, because it shows up in different ways and in different stages of their life. So my traumas, when I was 6, 7, it shows up differently. When I'm 14, 15, shows up differently.
Wow.
When I'm 23, 24, shows up differently in my 40s. You know what I'm saying? So you have to understand it so that you can walk with your spouse wholly and fully with an open view and understanding that if I'm making this choice, I'm also accepting that. But many people get into these relationships not understanding because they don't know. They don't have the conversation.
Yeah.
You know, in a non-judgmental way. So that's why, man, premarital counseling and all of that is good, and it's not. You need to do it with someone who can give you multiple perspectives.
That's awesome.
So
that's good. That's good teaching right there. Yeah, there's a lot to this, and when we don't address these things that we know that we need to address, you just keep it going. Generation that goes into your children, the dysfunction. Nobody's really happy, you know, blissfully living life happy every day. When you wake up in the morning, you know, we're robbing ourselves of joy.
Yeah.
You know, it's like what the people talking in the church, that joy, unspeakable joy.
That's it.
You know, we want to know what that feels like before we leave the planet. We deserve to be happy. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
So we got to address a lot of things.
For sure.
And that's what we talk about on Permission to Live. That's
Permission to live. This is what it's about. So hopefully you guys have given yourselves the permission to be courageous, brave today. You know, like the permission to say, I need to reevaluate.
There you go.
So that I could move.
Yeah.
You know, I need to reassess.
Yeah.
And I need to regain something.
And that's fun because it's discovering yourself. And you say, oh, I don't have to do that. Why am I doing that?
Yeah.
Oh man, I can, and you can do this every day. Constant change, constant vetting of different activities in your life. Why am I doing that? I don't have to do that. Let me do an experiment this week.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And take the time. And I'll tell those before we close. I know some is like, I don't have the time. And I know a lot of folks that juggle a lot, because I'm one of those that juggle a lot. You know, when the older, and I'm going to call them saints, I love it.
Right.
But they have prayer closets.
Yeah.
Or they have places within their home, and it could be a small room, it can be a section or something. I don't care how many things you are juggling. You figure out how to get into a space where, even if it's 5 minutes of a day, of intentional space.
Yes.
To get to a place to where you could recognize these things that we're talking about. Again, mental freedom is money. Mental freedom is key to movement.
Yes.
Mental freedom is key to understanding what true happiness and fulfillment is. So what's holding you from being mentally free? Right?
Wow.
So I'm going to close on that.
I love it.
Yes, man. So follow us. I know BJ got some IGs and Facebooks.
That's right.
You know, where they follow him, where can they find you?
You can find me on Instagram at BJ Murphy Media, and on Facebook, TikTok, Twitter. You can find me at BJ Murphy Show.
That's what's up. That's what's up. For me, y'all, just go to IG. I'm trying to get my life together. I have been mothering. But hit me on IG, Shante.Vines. You can find me.
Right. And we'll give a shout out to our great producer, too.
Yes.
LaShonda.
LaShonda is dope.
Right.
I love her.
That's right.
Shout out to LaShonda. So appreciate all that you have done. We have been we have been becoming the best of friends.
That's right.
I know she's sick of me. I love you, Shante. Sick of me hitting her up. But for sure. So, yes, catch us this is coming out soon.
Yeah.
So just keep following. We'll throw some stuff out there. Permission to live. Until next time. All right.
Peace, y'all.